Hey guys, Caleb's Cards here, coming at you with another World War II showcase video with some of the autographs that Scott Masters from Crestwood Preparatory College in Toronto, Canada gave me. He had been writing to some World War II veterans and Korean War, Vietnam era veterans from Canada and even a few from the US, and had asked if they would be willing to sign some autographs for me that he and his class met, whether in person or through Zoom. And so we have three more here that we can highlight that are pretty cool. So thought I'd share those with you. And as always, I try to make sure to include Scott's links down below in case you want to go check out some more of his oral history, stuff that he's uploaded to his site, on the school site, as well as some information about the school. And he's just been compiling many interviews from as many World War II veterans as he possibly can. And he just asked me, when I write my letters out to some World War II veterans, or maybe assist with finding some addresses or contacts to help them out. And we've been able to get a few people to come on his show, as well as the Veterans Breakfast Club, which is also another kind of partnership with Scott. We both go on there and like to listen and listen to the stories on there. So links are down below to all of that if you guys want to check it out. So this first person we're going to showcase is Miss Frances McKilroy. So there she is right there. And she was born June 16th, 1917. So I'm not 100%. These were sent to me a while ago. So I'm not sure if she is still living, but if she is, she'd be 105 years old. So definitely wish her health and happiness, and hopefully she lives for a lot longer, just so she can tell her story. But she was born in Madoc, Ontario. She's the eldest of one brother and one sister. She went to school in Madoc. Later on, she went to Kingston General Hospital to train as a nurse. From there, she became an army nurse. Frances went overseas in June 1944, right as D-Day was taking place. She worked in a series of military hospitals, both in England and on the continent, giving soldiers the benefit of her care. She is currently 104 years old, so at the time she was 104, and lives in Sunnybrook Veterans Residence in Toronto. And obviously, just a little scribble there, but hey, that is her signature, and I'm very happy that she was willing to do that at that advanced age. In the photo with the kids, she does not look 104 years old, that's for sure. So definitely wish her the best. So thank you, Miss McKilroy, for your service. Even though I'm not from Canada, obviously Canada and Great Britain, France, and many of the other countries aiding to win the war against the Axis powers. Definitely for that. Next up, we have Miss Mary Jarvis. And there's her signature down below, and then some more photos of her and with the class. She grew up in Ontario in the pre-war era, in the Markham area just north of Toronto. She grew up in a conservative, church-going family in what was then a largely rural community, and Mary recalls chafing just a bit against those restrictions. Like her friends, she would have loved to enjoy the movies and dances that were making their appearance. With the war, Mary enlisted, recalling it to be a duty and an expectation, and a way to escape those familial restrictions. She chose the CWACs, and her training took her to Ottawa, where she learned to become a driver. After time on the home front, she was sent off to England to play her role ferrying troops and equipment to the Channel ports. Mary remembers driving the roads in the dead of night, and the talks she had with the wounded soldiers in her charge. She also remembers fulfilling the rebellious streak that led her into the army, and the loss that was part of life. Her fiance died on D-Day, so that's really sad. Soon back in Canada, she fell into the rhythm of civilian life, marrying and raising a family and fighting her way in post-war Canada, and that's Miss Mary Jarvis. Technically well, I guess he didn't say D-Day, but maybe she came after D-Day. Then finally for today we have Mr. Jim Hines. So there he is with some students. And they got some close-up picture of him when he was younger with all his awards there and medals. Jim Hines was born in Toronto in 1922, so he'd be 100 years old. He grew up in the city's West End in the Bloor Bathurst neighborhood that he calls Hogtown. Jim attended Harvard Collegiate, and he recalls that life during the Great Depression, at least for his family, was not that rough as his father was able to keep his railroad job. When the war came, Jim decided to enlist. He remembers that it was the thing to do. His parents weren't enthusiastic, but Jim went ahead, choosing the RCAF, for the Royal Canadian Air Force. He reported to Manning Depot and began his BCATP training, where he was selected as a navigator. Training took him to different parts of Ontario and then to Halifax, where he was told he'd be going overseas to England. The troop ship got Jim and his fellow servicemen to Europe safely, and he began his operational training in Halifax bomber, alongside his new crew and the other men of Squadron 431. Excuse me. The first trip saw them bomb the city of Osnabrück, the first of his 22 missions. Jim and his crew were fortunate to make it through that mission and the 21 that followed largely unscathed, dealing with one flak hit and no significant injuries. Other members of his squadron were not so lucky. When his rotation finished, Jim headed back to Canada, returning to Toronto and his fiancée marrying just 2 weeks later. Jim opted to continue his military career, and he remained in the RCAF through the 1970s, building post-war Canada. And again, there is Mr. Jim Hines and his signature. And again, this Mary Jarvis and her signature. And finally, Miss Frances McKilroy and her signature. So, thank you so much to these folks for their service and for them willing to sign some custom papers that Scott made up. And thank you to Scott for doing this and sending these out and bringing about some awareness to these folks' military career and their sacrifice. Even though I'm an American, obviously, I'm still grateful to our allies and our American troops. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. There's at least a couple more left to do that we still need to cover. So hope you enjoyed. Talk to you later. Bye.